Hello, Internet. This is once again Kopitem Council, and today we have a few episodes for today. And first up, we are going to visit the strongest country in the world, the richest country in the world, which is the United States of America. And a lot of things happening, you name it, the tariff, immigration, or even domestic issues. There's a lot of things going on, but you can only pick our battles. And with this, I just want to ask Adi first. What's the week for about America for you, Adi?
I think what's amazing with America is that it seems every week there's something new coming out from President Donald Trump. First, with wanting to buy Greenland and getting access to the Arctic Ocean and the trade routes over there to counterbalance Russia and China. Now we see this slew of tariffs being put on Mexico, Canada, and China as well. A new wave of aggression of the Trump policies that we saw during the first time he was president. So this has caused a lot of concern, and I think Malaysia is not insulated from it. We had Lim Guan Eng, who expressed his concern and was appealing to the government to ensure that we make a stance on this, that we take a concerted stance alongside Canada and Mexico to say that, hey, this is disrupting a lot of the global status quo, especially economic situation and arrangements that we have had across the world. So I mean, of course, tariffs is going to be the first thing on everybody's lips. So, Hafiz, what do you have on tariffs?
All right. Before that, what Adi mentioned from Lim Guan Eng is the Parliament is in session again. So we will be covering Parliament issue as well. If you have any issues from Parliament that you want us to cover, please let us know through our socials media and also on the comment down below. All right. American tariff. I just want to focus on this because this is something that being talked a lot. Any news outlet talk about it, but what they talk about it is the tariff on its own. What I'm going to talk about today is why Donald Trump is doing it, why America, in fact, is doing it. So I will not go to the nitty gritty of which country will be affected, who's the winner, who's the losers out of this tariff. To me, tariff is just a small jigsaw of the huge puzzle. So what the puzzles I'm saying is that there is an alignment of global monetary system. Okay, what the hell I'm saying, right? In the 1940s, America led the world with its reconstruction after the World War II. We know Bretton Woods and Marshall Plan. These are all agenda to help rebuild Europe and also part of Asia. So by doing this, America has to buy foreign goods and let other countries producing it, namely Japan, South Korea, and also some European countries like Germany. So when this happens, American dollar will become the global reserve because by doing this, they can control the economy, all right? And that's been good for 80 years. But now America realized that they cannot do it forever. They cannot do it any longer. In fact, it's failing already. That's why a shift towards something neutral. It's not the currency of another country. It's not by the UK or by America, but it'll be something neutral. They say it's Bitcoin because that's what Trump was saying, railing it towards the election the other day. And this is the jigsaw puzzles that we put together. And there are two things that will allow America to achieve that. First is tariff. Secondly is weakening of dollars. All right. So tariff is easy. He single-handedly can do that, which I will talk a bit later. But secondly, the weakening of dollar has some problem because America, the Federal Reserve, is not a government entity. They are a private bank, which is the printer of United States dollars. So Jerome Powell, the president, he doesn't want to follow what Trump says. So basically, that's bottom line. So there's a big problem on that side. But while that's happening, at the same time, Trump launching tariff across their allies, not the enemies, but the allies. One of the closest allies, Canada, is one of them. Mexico, they have direct border. Why are they doing this? It doesn't make any sense. So when I say there will be a really realignment of global monetary system, that what America wants to do, which is the goal they want to achieve is they want to reindustrialize America back again. They want America produce again. In order to do that, they have to make the American dollar weaker. Otherwise, there's no one buying American product if it's very, very expensive. So these are the things that is going to happen, unfold in the next 2 or 3 years, or even beyond Trump's term. Because what is going to take place after this is that after the tariff, we can see America is going down and down, and we already start witnessing this. So what's happening right now? It's really just tariff is just small bit of it. We're gonna see a lot of movement in terms of businesses and economy moving towards something I would say uncharted territory, because this is something. Well, gold used to be our global currency, but people don't use it because you cannot, literally, it's very hard to use gold as a payment token. And now with the advance of technology, Bitcoin can achieve that what gold cannot do in the whatever 1,000 years ago we started using gold. Now, this is very important because you can see the bigger picture now. Why Elon Musk, someone is very prominent in the crypto industry as well. They're producing their own meme. This is nothing to do with Bitcoin, but it's a symbolic that the president wants to be number one in crypto world. They want to dominate this new frontier of a new global monetary system, and that's what is happening. And now that I see this, it's just wow. I can't really focus on just tariff alone, because when you see America on the lens of tariff, it looks really bad. But if you see the bigger picture, then it all makes sense. And I don't know if Canada and Mexico are realizing this, and there's no going back once they started doing this.
When it comes to looking at the wider picture of how it will affect the global dynamic, the global economic dynamic, it's definitely moving towards Trump having this idea of, okay, we're going to shift everything, we're going to turn the table, but we're going to make it American-centric. We're going to reestablish America's economic focal point as it was over the past 70, 80 years. Now, America back then, because you mentioned the Bretton Woods institutions and all the like IMF, World Bank, and but this also came at a time when America was transitioning towards a peacetime economy, being from a wartime economy, which I think contributed a lot to its industrial capacity. Like when you said in reindustrializing, right? It reminded me of back during the Great War and World War II period, where America was able to get ahead of mostly everyone because they were able to just mobilize labor, they were able to industrialize. They also had the industrialists on their side to manufacture all these things, and then it maintained that in manufacturing capacity from the 50s to the 60s until they started transitioning towards outsourcing their labor pools to China, which is becoming less and less now. And then, so I think Trump is like trying to return back to almost like a rose-tinted ideological perception of what America was back, because it is, the whole slogan is "Make America Great Again," right? When was the time that America? Right? When was the time that America was great? During the 50s and the 60s, when it won, when it won the war, when it was trying to ramp up all this manufacturing and all this industrialization to compete against Russia as well. When in fact, the Soviet Union, when America has eclipsed everyone by that time. UK was quite crippled and had to decolonize. France was also reeling. Germany, his entire industrial capacity was split, and then they had to be cut in half to appease the wartime victors. So America was left to pick up and then assume its position, its leadership position. And I think that is what the President Donald Trump is trying to reassert here. He wants to return back to those days here. And secondly, of course, this is, like you mentioned, it's going to reduce, going to change everything. But we also have to look into when it comes to tariffs, right? When, let's say, putting a tariff on China, now ramping up, increasing up to 10% more, who will be bearing the cost of these tariffs exactly? Because I don't think the Chinese exporter is going to be the one bearing the tariffs here. It's going to be the American companies that are importing Chinese goods, going to be importing Canadian goods or Mexican goods, who will have to be paying the tariff itself, which is a short-term measure to increase the treasury for the Americans. But it's going to also lead to businesses and companies that are importing these goods to increase their costs. They're going to have to cover up the costs. They're going to have to cover up their margins. And that cost is going to be bared on who? The consumer. Now, usually cost is something that I think we can all notice, but at the same time, it's also it's an invisible and intangible sort of progression. Like we know cost is there, but at the same time, we don't look at the thread that leads back to where cost is rising from. You link it up to something very abstract, like, oh, it's inflation or recession or just the economy is not doing well. But there's a lot of elements at play, like you said, a lot of forces that dictate how cost rises, how how cost of living rises, and tariff is one part that also contributes to that, and it could be a domino effect that could see the American economy drastically changing, whether it is for the better or for the worse. I think that is up to your own particular persuasion. Of course, in Malaysia, we see it as dangerous because by hampering Chinese market practices, by hampering China's attempts to expand into American markets, into other markets in all over the West, is going to affect China's economy. And whenever China's economy is affected, it will indirectly or directly affect Malaysia or any other country that is situated within China's sphere of influence. This is just the reality of economic weightage. Is that when someone has a lot of influence, whatever happens to him will affect you, whether it is China. It's just the nature of us being reliant on a lot of China's economy, at the same time reliant on America's economy. So it's more about we have to attempt to be more resilient, attempting to understand that, okay, how will it affect China's economy exactly? Because China can always diversify into other markets as well. America is not the only market that China can tap into. We've seen China attempting it in Africa, we've seen in South America. Of course, they don't have the purchasing power that America does, but that is not going to be a permanent state of affairs. Countries will grow prosperous eventually, and China can preempt for that as long as stability is there. But of course, its premier destination would always be America.
Funny that you mentioned about like who's gonna be end up paying all this so-called tariff, right? Like it's the American people, it's the American consumer, it's not the Chinese or the Canadian and the Mexican, because there's a video viral that all these MAGA's fans gathering, and then there was an interview asking like, so should we go ahead with the tariff to these countries? They said, yeah, we should. America first, make America great again. And we were like, so who's gonna? Do you think it's who's gonna pay all this tariff? Yeah, it's gonna be the Chinese company all this way. They're literally saying that, and even Trump was saying this in the debate. Like, it's the thing how they announce a tariff. It's like imposed tariff. So impose tariff on China. So in our psychology, thinking like, oh, okay, we impose this on China, China has to pay. No, it doesn't work that way. So a lot of people think that it's the other people that have to pay. In fact, this is a tax. This is a form of tax to people that the local consumers have to pay. So that's one thing. Second thing, I mentioned about de-dollarizations, about like making dollar weaker. And we already know this. Some of the BRIC countries wants, to de-dollarization from moving away from dollars. As even Saudi Arabia has started doing that. So these are very important, and these countries seems to know this. I mean, of course, they have a lot of clever people over there. Of course, they know about this. It's just now the matter of how are we dealing with unpredictable Trump, because Trump, unfortunately for Russia, for China, for India, Trump is unpredictable right now, and he sits at the biggest chair. So he will call the shot right now. 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 50 years from now, it may be different. But right now, China, Russia still have to follow the lead of America. So they started de-dollarizations, but they never make it public because they know it's going to happen in a long time. And Trump will show, and again, that America can do this transition. If America cannot do this transition, there will be chaos there. But of course, America is a big empire, and I think they have a lot of also clever people over there that can take care of themselves. And another thing about tariff is that it's crazy that all these countries, allies, it reminded me, Adi, of Henry Kissinger once said that to be an American enemies is very dangerous, can be dangerous, he said. But to be American friends is fatal. So I think it's beautifully summarized this whole 2 weeks of Donald Trump in power, that Canada, Mexico, well, not China, but other countries, even Europe now is being threatened of additional tariff. So it's unimaginable. Suddenly, everything is NATO. Now, America wants to pull out from United Nations as well, not just WHO. So one by one, in international relation, we can see America trying to isolate themselves, and this is the internalizing that America has to do, because they know they have to do it from the inside. So they have to go away from all this international smoke screen, and that someone will fill in the gap. It could be China, it could be Russia, it could be a combination of them, it could be the BRICS members states. So China has a lot to do, but they will do the wait and see approach. What's America going to do? They're going to retaliate. That's how they retaliate to the tariff announcement by Trump. They're going to say, okay, we will follow suit. They won't pick up the lead, but America is where we should keep our eyes on.
Yeah, it kind of, if America was particular over what industries it wants to impose the tariffs on, it might be understandable, because America, with Trump, his main issue is immigration, claiming, I think it was in Switzerland during the World Economic Forum, he was trying to focus more on, they're bringing fentanyl into America, they're poisoning our people with drugs and flooding the whole streets with drugs, with fentanyl and all that, getting them addicted and all that. So that's this element of saying, it's crime here that's being perpetrated by these unfair trade practices committed by China, by Mexico. So there is not exactly an economic justification on his side. It's more of a moral one to say that, this is coming at the expense of the American people. Now, if you want to come over and enrich us, you have to enrich us, your businesses. You have to come over and do business on our own terms, because you are doing this wrong. You're doing these wrong things to our people. You have to do it the right way. Come to America like every other person, build it up, and then in domestic manufacturing, right? Domestic opening up is domestic, right? So that there are more domestic options for Americans. I think that is what Trump is hoping to rely on, is that eventually companies will come to America to open up their own businesses there, and then to keep things within America itself. It's similar to when Indonesia implemented its policies on tin, on the tin supplies, tin reserves. Is that okay? You're going to have to open up business here, set up shop here. All the big tech companies that are focusing on all these electronics that come from tin, they have to come here to do business, so that it enriches domestic value. It adds domestic value. I think that is what Trump trying to do, but on a larger scale, where it's cross-cutting across so many industries, and it's not exactly targeting particular industries. Now, what is the concern here is that if, let's say, China wants to open companies in manufacturing or industrializing in America, where they have to hire American citizens, right? I feel that's going to be a conundrum in figuring out, because the reason why America outsourced its labor pool is because it was cheap. I wouldn't imagine someone, Chinese businessman, thinking, okay, if we outsource labor and set up shop in America, our cost is going to go down, because I'm sure because of trade unions and the value of skilled workers in America is definitely going to be higher than most other labor markets across the world, right? It's way more valued, way more skilled. So that is going to be, in terms of that point, it's quite moot. So I don't see that the whole idea of having factories come over to America and do that. But then again, who knows? Trump might sweeten the deal. He might say offer incentives, or provide subsidies with the collection of tariffs. I don't know. But like you said, there are people there in Washington who are quite smart. Maybe they'll find a way to circumvent this, or maybe there's currently a lobby to give some special dispensation or exceptions to this whole tariff rule that presented by Trump, because Trump's a businessman, right? If he sees the wind blowing in the wrong direction, he would course correct immediately. So maybe that could be the case.
Yeah, I mean that definitely could be the case. And then as the time we record right now, just breaking news that Canada, Mexico, I think China as well, they will be delayed the tariff. If you follow this tariff news, it changes by the day, not by the weeks, not by the months. It's just every day there will be news about this. So now it's not going to be imposed on the immediately, but there will be 30 days delayed on this. So, I don't know why 30 days, but I don't see Trump changing his mind. It's just maybe in the numbers. Maybe instead of 15, it could be, 10 or even bigger than 15. So I think we should keep an eye on America's development, but just not tariff, but also immigrations and other things from America. Yeah, another thing about this also that Anwar Ibrahim, the Prime Minister of Malaysia, mentioned that Malaysia should not be in a rush to react to America's decisions. So I think I agree with that, because we are in a way, the ripple effect is not going to be on first or second wave to us. We will be third or fourth wave. Maybe in certain industries, yes, chip manufacturing will be the first one, but should not concern us in terms of the grand scheme of things. So on that note, I agree with PM Anwar with his statement that we should not rush in with our decision towards that. I think that's it for this episode, America This Week. Of course, we're going to talk about America again, maybe next week again, if something big happen. And if you do have more comments on these topics that we talk about, please put on comment below or in our social media, TikTok, Instagram as well. All right, next episode coming up.